Hi, hello everyone, it's me again, Mama Yel, and welcome to my channel. So for this video, we're going to discuss all about graphing ellipses centered at H and K. The last time, I've uploaded already all about graphing ellipses centered at origin or in 0, 0. So ngayon, i-discuss ko is all about graphing ellipses centered at H and K, okay? So we have two ellipses, horizontal ellipse and vertical ellipse. So we have our standard form for horizontal and vertical ellipse. We have x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared. And of course, x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared. Remember that a is always greater than b. And yung a, siya yung magdidetermine kung ang ating ellipse is horizontal or vertical. Meaning to say, kapag nandito yung higher number, okay? Remember a is greater than b. Kapag nandito yung higher number and nasa tapat siya ni x, meaning to say, we have our horizontal ellipse and ito yung mga coordinates niya, vertices, co-vertices, and foci. So, for the vertices, we have h, plus and minus a, and k, and co-vertices h and k, plus and minus b. Of course, our foci is h, plus and minus c, and k. Of course, we have our vertical ellipse, wherein kapag yung higher number is nasa tapat ni y-axis, meaning to say, we have our vertical ellipse, okay? These are the coordinates of the vertices, co-vertices, and foci of vertical ellipse. We have h and k, positive and negative a, h and positive and negative b and k, h and k, positive and negative c. Remember that a is greater than b. Dito ma-identify if our ellipse is horizontal and vertical. And of course, kay a, b, and c, dito naman natin ma-identify si vertices, co-vertices, and foci even without memorizing these coordinates, okay? So, we have our formula for foci, c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. Okay, so take a look at our first example. We have x minus 2 squared over 9 plus y minus 1 squared over 1 is equal to 1. So, what are we going to do first is to identify a and b. Since a is always greater than b, meaning to say, ang ating a is nandito kay x-axis. Therefore, our ellipse is horizontal. Why is it horizontal ellipse? Kasi po, ang ating a is 9. Since siya yung higher value than 1, so ito yung a natin. And nasa tapat siya ni x-axis, that's why ang ating ellipse is horizontal. Okay? Then the next step is to find a, b, and c, enable for us to graph our ellipse in a Cartesian plane. Okay? The next step is to find the center. Since ang ating center is h and k, and of course, h is represented by our x, we have h, and k is represented by y. So, h and k. So, we have our center at, ang ating h is negative 2. Since we are going to equate it to 0, it will become positive 2. Always remember, una palagi si x, okay, before kay y, okay? So, we have negative 1 as our k, and since we are going to equate it to 0, it will become positive 1. So, we have 2 and 1 as our center, okay? So, the next step is to find a, b, and c, enable for us to graph our ellipse in a Cartesian plane, okay? So, we have our a squared is equal to 9, and our b squared is equal to 1, of course. Remember, ang a squared natin is, siya yung magdidetermine ng ating vertices. Ang b squared is magdidetermine ng ating co-vertices, okay? So, we have to extract square root, both sides, cancel. Then, a is equal to square root of 9 is 3. So, b natin, we're going to extract square root again. Okay, b is equal to square root of 1 is, of course, 1. Next is to find c para talagang okay na makakapag-graph na tayo. Since ang formula natin for c or para mag-determine ng ating foci is c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. We have our a squared as 9 minus 1, of course. So we have c squared is equal to 9 minus 1 is 8. Then we're going to extract square root. Cancel. Then c is equal to square root of 8. So enable for us to find the square root of 8. Mag-iisip tayo ng factor ni 8 wherein yung isang number is merong square root and yung isa naman ay wala. So try natin. Ang factor ni 8 is 4 times 2, 8 times 1. Tama. Ang 8, syempre, hindi siya pwede. Si 8 and 1, of course. Meron tayong 4 and 2 wherein si 4 is meron siyang square root. So, ang gagawin natin dyan, we have square root of 4 times 2. And then, ilalabas natin si 4, right? So, we have c is equal to 2 is square root of 2. And enable for us to easily plot this in our Cartesian plane. 2 square root of 2, 2.82. Okay? So, ginawa nating decimal para madali nating ma-plot sa ating Cartesian plane. Okay? Okay, now we are ready to graph our ellipse. So, the first thing to consider when graphing an ellipse is i-identify muna natin kung horizontal ba or vertical yung ating ellipse. Since horizontal siya, meaning to say, ang ating major axis is the x-axis. Ito yung ating horizontal line, okay? So, the x-axis. And ang ating minor axis is itong y-axis. Meaning to say, nandito kay minor axis ang ating co-vertices, while na kay major axis naman ang ating vertices and foci. Tama? Remember, ang ating A, siya yung magdidetermine ng ating vertices and B is our co-vertices. But let's plot first our center. Okay, so our center is positive 2 and positive 1. So we have 1, 2, and of course, positive 1 is ito. So, we have our center in here. Positive 2 and positive 1. Okay? Next thing to do is from the center is to graph our vertices. Since we have positive and negative 3, meaning to say, positive 3 to the right and negative 3 to the left. Right? From the center. So, we have 1, 2, 3. So, ito yung ating vertices. And of course, 1, 2, and 3. So, ito yung ating vertices. Okay? The next thing to do is to graph our co-vertices or doon sa ating minor axis siya nakalagay. Since ang ating minor axis is itong y-axis. So, we have positive 1 as upward and negative 1 as downward. So, positive 1, of course, nandito lang siya. And negative 1, since downward yon, nandito siya. And here it is. What are you going to do next is just to connect the dots. Okay, so we have our ellipse. Okay, so yan na yung ellipse natin. The next thing to do is to plot our foci. Since ang ating foci is 2.82, so from the center again, of course, nandun siya sa major axis, sa x-axis, nakaline siya sa ating vertices. Always remember. So, we have 2.82, positive 2.82 or right, and negative 2.82 or left. So, we have 1, 2.82. So, I guess nandito siya sa middle ni 4 and 5. And we have 1, 2. So, nandito siya. Foci 2. Okay? And then, we're going to get its coordinates. Unahin muna natin si vertices. Saan ba nakaplot yung ating vertices? So, we have vertex 1 at negative 1 and positive 1. Vertex 2 at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Positive 5 and positive 1. Alright? And then, of course, kailangan natin kuhain ang coordinates ni co-vertices. Ito ang ating co-vertices, right? So, we have 2 and positive 2. And of course, the next co-vertices is positive 2, ito siya, and 0. And then, kuhain naman natin yung coordinates ng ating foci. Dito na lang natin siya ilagay. Of course, ang ating foci is ito siya, and ito. So, the first coordinates ng ating foci is at 0.82, alright? Or negative, since nandito siya sa left. Negative 0.82, and of course, 1. And ang atin namang foci 2 is, bilangin natin, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, ito siya, 4.82 since nandito siya. Okay? So, we have 4.82 and 1. Of course, ang ating center is at 2 and 1, alright? And then, what are we going to do next is to check if tama ba yung nakuha nating coordinates using the given coordinates of our vertices, co-vertices, and foci. So, ang ating coordinates for horizontal ellipse is h plus and minus a and k. So, we have our h as 2, positive and negative a is 3, and of course, ang ating k is 1. And of course, ang gagawin natin dyan is paghihiwalayin lang natin. So, we have 2 plus 3 is 5 and 1. And of course, 2 minus 3 is negative 1 and 1. We have positive 5 and 1. Ito siya. Check. And negative 1 and 1. Check also. Next is our co-vertices. So, we have our coordinates for co-vertices at h and k, plus and minus b. So, again, ang ating h is, of course, 2. Alright? And ang ating k is 1. Plus and minus, ang ating b is 1. Alright? So, we have our co-vertices as 2, and 1 plus 1 is 2. And the other one is 2. And 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, so let us check kung tama ba yung nakuha nating coordinates for our co-vertices. Positive 2 and 2. Alright, ito siya. And 2 and 0. So, ito siya. So, I guess, tama siya. Next, of course, is our foci. So, we have our foci at h and plus and minus c and k. And of course, ang ating h is 2. So, we have 2 plus and minus 2, square root of 2. And of course, ang ating k is 1. So, we have focus 1 at 2 plus 2, square root of 2, and 1. And of course, we also have 2 minus 2, square root of 2 and 1. Alright? And if you're going to compute it on your calculator, 2 plus 2 square root of 2 is equal to 4.82 and 1. So, it is checked. And we have 2 minus 2 square root of 2 and 1. If you're going to compute it on your calculator, you'll get negative 0.82 and 1. So, we have foci 1 and foci 2 as correct. Alright? Okay, so take a look at this example. We have x minus 2 squared over 64 plus y plus 3 squared over 100 is equal to 1. So, the first thing to do is alamin muna natin kung nasaan ba yung ating a. Okay? Since a is always greater than b, meaning to say ang ating a squared is ito. Tama? And of course, dahil yung ating a is nasa tapat ni y, ito si y, meaning to say, our ellipse is a vertical ellipse, right? Then, the next thing to do is, of course, to find a, b, and c. How are you going to find a, b, and c? Of course, kuhain muna natin si a squared is equal to 100. And ang ating b squared is equal to 64. Alright? Then, we're going to extract square root and able for us to find a and b. And then cancel. Therefore, our a is equal to square root of 100 is equal to 10. So, si a is equal to 10. Siya yung magdedetermine ng ating vertices, alright? And then, of course, sabihin natin, kailangan din nating extract si square root. Okay, then cancel. So, our b is square root of 64 is positive and negative 8. Same as square root of 100, positive and negative 10. Okay? So, we have our a as 10 and b as 8. And, of course, we're going to find c enable for us to graph our ellipse. Ang formula ng ating c, which is siya yung magdedetermine ng ating foci, is of course c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. And ang ating a squared is equal to 100 minus b squared is 64. So we have our c squared as 100 minus 64 is equal to 36. And then of course extract square root and then cancel. So, c is equal to square root of 36 is positive and negative 6. Alright? So, we have our a, b, and c. So, right after that, of course, ready ka na mag-graph ng ellipse. Okay? And, i-consider mo si vertical ellipse. Alright? Since we have a vertical ellipse, meaning to say ang ating major axis is nasa y-axis. Right? And ang ating minor axis is itong si x-axis. Meaning to say, nandito si A, nandito si foci. Okay? Ang A natin is the vertices and ang ating C is foci nandito. While ang ating B is nandito or dito natin siya i-graph. So, start tayo sa center. Nakalimutan pala natin na identify ang center. Of course, ang center is always H and K. Meaning to say, ang ating center is ito, negative 2. And since we're going to equate it to 0, it will become positive 2. And of course, ang ating K is positive 3. When you're going to equate it to 0, it will become negative 3. And then, plot na natin siya sa ating Cartesian plane. We have positive 2. So, dito siya. And negative 3. So, nasa baba siya. Tama? So, we have 1, 2, 3. 2 and negative 3. Ito yung ating center. And then, right after that, from the center itself, i-graph naman natin si vertices. Okay? We have positive 10 and negative 10. So, positive 10 units upward and 10 units downward. Okay? So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, nandito yung ating vertex 1. While ang ating vertex 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, nandito yung ating vertex 2. Okay? So, tapat-tapat sila. Center, vertices. And yung ating foci is nandito din siya. Mamaya, okay? Now, let's graph our B. Since ang ating B is 8, so positive right, negative left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, nandito yung ating co-vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so nandito siya. So, right after that, of course, i-connect natin yung dots. Enable for us to draw our ellipse, right? Okay, so we have a not so perfect ellipse. Remember, it's okay not to be okay, right? Then, the next thing to do is, of course, to plot our foci. Since we have positive and negative 6 as our foci. And, of course, ang ating ellipse is vertical, meaning to say, nandito siya. Nandito yung ating foci. Naka-vertical din siya. Move tayo 6 units upward and downward. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, nandito yung ating focus 1. And of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, nandito naman yung ating focus 2. Then, the next thing to do is, of course, to get its coordinates. Ang ating vertex, ito, vertex 1, and vertex 2. Positive 2, and positive 7. Alright? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ito siya, positive 2, and 7. So, yan yung ating vertex 1. Ating vertex 2 is at 2 and negative, since negative to, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Negative 13. Alright? Kunin naman natin yung co-vertices. So we have co-vertices at negative 6, 3, negative 3. Co-vertex 2, we have 10 and negative 3. Okay, ito yung focus 1 natin. So we have 2 and positive 3. Alright? And of course, ang ating foci 2 is at 2 and negative 9. So, yun na yung ating foci. Alright? And of course, ang ating center is at 2 and negative 3. So, ngayon, tingnan natin kung tama ba yung nakuha nating coordinates dito. Yan. Sila yung mga coordinates or ordered pairs ng ating vertices, co-vertices, and foci. Tingnan natin kung tama ba yung nakuha natin dito sa pinaka-formula or sa given coordinates. Okay? So, ang ating h, of course, is 2. So, we have 2. And ang ating k is negative 3. Plus and minus or positive and negative. Ang ating a is, of course, 10. Alright? Then, so we have positive and negative. So, 2 and negative 3 plus 10. And, of course, 2 and negative 3 minus 10. Alright? So, we have 2. Negative 3 plus 10 is equal to positive 7. 2. Negative 3 minus 10 is equal to negative 13. Alright? So, tingnan natin kung tama ba siya sa ating vertices na nakuha sa Cartesian plane. So, we have our vertices 2 and 7, vertex 1, tama. Vertex 2 at 2 and negative 13, so tama. Next is to check our co-vertices. S is H plus and minus B or positive and negative B and K. So, of course, ang ating H is 2. Ang ating B is, of course, 8. Alright? And then, ang ating K is negative 3. Okay? Then, right after that, of course, paghiwalay natin si positive and negative. So, 2 plus 8, of course, 10 and negative 3. And the other one is 2 minus 8, of course, negative 6 and negative 3. So, let us see kung tama ba yung nakuha nating coordinates sa ating Cartesian plane. Or we have 10 and negative 3. Ito siya. Co-vertices 1, tama. And negative 6 and negative 3. Ito siya sa ating co-vertices 2. And then next is, of course, our foci. So, ating foci is at H and K, plus and minus C, or positive and negative C. So, again, ang ating H is 2. And we have K as negative 3. Ito siya, negative 3. And then, ang ating C is, ito, 6. So, we have positive and negative 6. Then, syempre, paghiwalayin natin si positive and negative. So, we have 2, negative 3, plus 6. First coordinates is 2, negative 3 plus 6 is, of course, positive 3. And we have 2, and negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9. So, tingnan natin kung tama ba yung magiging coordinates natin. So, we have 2 and positive 3 as our foci. Ito siya, 2 and positive 3. Check. And, of course, 2 and negative 9 sa ating focus 2. So, we have 2 and negative 9. As you can see, nakapag-graph tayo ng ellipse without even memorizing this or even doing this co-vertices, vertices, and foci. Diba? Ang ginamit lang natin to graph an ellipse is, of course, A, B, and C. And right after that, kapag na-identify nyo na kung vertical or horizontal, nakapag-graph na kayo ng ellipse, okay? So that is all for this video. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I hope you have learned something about graphing ellipses centered at H and K, okay? So, shoutouts muna tayo. Nag-post ako sa aking community kung sinong gusto magpa-shoutout. And of course, shoutout kay @Silaxi Official and Bombom and Lady Coms Kohotan. Thank you so much for all the support. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this to your classmates. Okay? Thank you so much everyone. God bless us all.